April 2003. We're moving along, folks. I'm still working at Frame Art Galleries. That's going to be going on for another year or so. Excuse me. And still reading a lot of different books. So let's jump right in. This is a smaller list than the last month or so, but still, I think, a nice wide variety of things that I read. The first book was Viva Las Vengeance by Daniel Klein. This is an Elvis Presley mystery. Elvis is in Vegas, relaxing before going out to California to shoot Roustabout, and there's a woman found murdered outside of a wedding chapel, and she was roasted by a comedian the previous night, and so he's a suspect. Then someone else is found murdered, and Elvis is going to get involved. Is it a war between wedding chapels? Is it a mafia war? Is it a war between casinos? Which, same thing as a mafia war? Elvis is going to figure it out. Viva Las Vengeance by Daniel Klein. A nice Elvis Presley mystery. Excuse me. After that, How I Lost 5 Pounds in 6 Years by Tom Arnold. This is an autobiography. Tom Arnold, possibly best known as the former husband of Roseanne Barr, maybe for his role in True Lies. But this Tom Arnold telling his life story from childhood to, well, whenever this came out, but talks about, again, his childhood, his time in Hollywood as a writer, comedian, actor, his battle with cocaine, his battle with weight, his time with Roseanne. I'm actually, well, I don't want to. I was going to say I'm a Tom Arnold fan, but I don't dislike Tom Arnold. I think he's played some fun movie roles, and I thought this was a very interesting autobiography. How I Lost, and I like the title, How I Lost 5 Pounds in 6 Years, Tom Arnold. Then we have Gen 13 version 2.0 by Shali Fish. Thought I was going insane and that this book didn't actually exist because I could not find it on Amazon, couldn't find it on Goodreads. Finally, I had to just Google it and found it on some, I think, a book selling website that happened to have a description of it. So Gen 13 was a comic book about a group of teenage superheroes. They were created by the government. They didn't want to work for the government and, be government lackeys. So they ran away and are working with another guy from the department they used to work for with the government, John Lynch, who left the government as well. I'm saying government a lot. And so they're just trying to keep away from the government people that are after them and, helping people, being super heroic along the way. And in this book, Caitlin Fairchild, who was a student at an Ivy League college before all this happened, so teens, young adults, she's thinking about leaving the group, just wants to live a normal life. So she's wrestling with that decision. Meanwhile, there's some bad guys that they're going to have to fight. Didn't read the comic, but as always, enjoy a good comic book novel. So this was a fun read, even though it may or may not exist. Gen 13 version 2.0, Shali Fish. Then we have Caravan of Shadows by Richard Lee Byers. This is based on the role-playing game from White Wolf, Wraith. And it has a Wraith the something, but I can't remember what the something is. So Wraith is their role-playing game based on ghosts, essentially. A lot of people will have heard this before, or at least the few people that watch these videos. The World of Darkness from White Wolf Publishing. You had Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse. There was Changeling, which is about fae folk. Mage, which is about magic users. And some other stuff, but Wraith is ghosts. So if you're playing the role playing game, you are playing a person who has died, and you are a ghost. In this book, the main character is Joey Costello. He was a boxer. Now that he's dead, he's part of this traveling group that does like Coliseum fights or gladiatorial combat type of stuff. But he's trying to, figure out how to live as a ghost. And of course, there's going to be some bad guys that show up. But this is a sort of a travelogue as he travels across the country with this traveling troupe and fighting, but trying to be a better person. So if you like The World of Darkness, if you like dead people, this is an interesting book because it's essentially all dead characters. Not saying it's 100% all dead characters, but you're reading a story that takes place in the afterlife. So it's not your typical ghost story, but that is Caravan of Shadows by Richard Lee Byers. And then here's the I can't imagine there's anybody watching this that has not heard of this. The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Now, this is before the movie, and I think it was probably brand new because I had stumbled across Angels and Demons. I thought that was a fun adventure book. I read Digital Fortress in March of 2003. It was meh. But Da Vinci Code, really enjoyed it. Here's the thing. It was on the New York Times bestsellers list for like 50 years. I don't know how long. A ridiculously long time. And I don't think it's a book that's good enough to have been on the bestsellers list for that amount of time. But I suppose that's not really what the bestsellers list is about. I mean, it's in the name of it. It's just bestsellers. The reason this was a bestseller, in my opinion, and I think in reality, I think I'm correct here, is mainly because of the controversy around the book and a little bit around people that wanted to seem cool, for lack of a better way to put it. I had a friend who had never read Dan Brown, wasn't a big reader at all, but bought this book simply because he wanted to be able to tell people he had it. I don't even know if he ever read it, but he bought a copy so he could be part of the conversation. So what the book is, I believe Robert Langdon is the character's name. I didn't even bother to look it up. There's a murder at the Louvre, I believe it is. Again, didn't look it up. Just doing this from memory from 2002 or 2003, excuse me. I believe the murder's at the Louvre. They call him Robert Langdon because the murder scene is weird, the way the body is positioned and everything. So Robert Langdon's trying to figure out these clues. Meanwhile, there's, I believe it's an albino assassin that's trying to stop Robert Langdon from figuring out what's going on. And there's twists and turns and weird puzzles. This was the start, the catalyst for these national treasure type of stories. I'm not saying it's the first one ever, but it really pushed this sort of story out into the world. And there's a few authors that I think changed the types of things they were writing to be this type of story, where it's secret histories and secret organizations and secret clues hidden everywhere. And it's a fun adventure, I think. That's how I remember it. I enjoyed it back in 2003, but it's not a great book. It's not a masterpiece. It was on the bestsellers list because of the controversy, which had to do with the secret organization that the albino belonged to, which was there's an author's note at the beginning of the book that says this is a real organization. I think he says he's taking liberties with it, but then there's also this huge twist at the end that was controversial. So it's a decent book. If you like a thrilling adventure, if you like things like National Treasure, it's a fun book. I've never seen any of the movies, but I enjoyed both Angels and Demons. I actually like that one a little better. And I like The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. After that, I read CSI Sin City by Max Allan Collins. It's a novel based on the TV show CSI, Crime Scene Investigators, whatever it is. Um, and in this one, there's a woman named Lynn Pierce. She's a housewife. She's a devout religious woman, and she tells a friend that if anything happens to her, get this tape to the police. And then she disappears. Meanwhile, there's an exotic dancer named Jenna Patrick, who was found murdered in a locker room. How do these two cases tie together, and how are our intrepid CSI investigators going to solve these separate, connected cases? I enjoyed the show well enough. Wasn't a huge fan. Stopped watching it after a while, but I like Max Allan Collins as a writer, and I like an interesting mystery. So CSI Sin City. Then we have Dragon Moon by Alan F. Troop. This is a sequel to, or part of a series, to the Dragon de la Sangra. I think might be the title of the first book. Anyway, it's about a were dragon. Excuse me. Peter de la Sangra is a were dragon, and this takes place 4 years after the death of his wife. He's raising his son, but he wants his son to have a mother. He wants to have a woman in his life. Seems a little problematic because he sets his sights on Chloe Blood, the younger sister of his dead wife. And he goes to, I think it's Jamaica, and sets himself up in a castle, a fortress, whatever, just waiting for Chloe to come of age. That's where it sounds a little problematic. But the people in Jamaica, or wherever it is, don't want him there. Don't remember if they know he's a were-dragon or not. But I like the idea of a were-creature you don't normally see. So that's nice. I don't remember whether or not there's some explanation for why it's not problematic that he's after his dead wife's younger sister, but fun dragon stuff. It's Dragon Moon by Alan F. Troop. Then we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, These Our Actors by Ashley McConnell and Dory Kugler. And in this, Buffy is in a drama class with Willow, but she drops out because she has to devote more time to slaying. And Willow initially is upset, but then she finds she really enjoys it. She's gotten over her stage fright. But it turns out that some of these old plays are actually rituals that can bring about bad things. And so Spike, Buffy, the Scooby Gang have to figure out what's going on and possibly stop possibly some ancient evil. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, show I loved. A little problematic maybe now because of things we know about its creator, but I enjoyed most of the books. After that, we have Smallville Hauntings by Nancy Holder, a woman who wrote a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer books, a woman whose endings I tend not to like. I don't remember how the ending of this is. But essentially, Clark Kent and Lana Lang befriend a new student whose family has moved into an allegedly haunted farmhouse. It turns out it's not alleged, and the kryptonite that's scattered about Smallville is having an effect on the haunting. Excuse me. And so it's a horror story set in Smallville, essentially. I enjoyed the show. My favorite character was Lex Luthor, played by Michael Rosenbaum. Absolutely, in my opinion, the best character on the show. But, it was fun watching a young Clark who hasn't mastered his powers yet, doesn't fly, but still wants to do the right thing. And I think in this, somehow, he's losing his powers for some reason. He's going to get them back. But that's Smallville Hauntings by Nancy Holder. The penultimate book for April of 2003, Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. I think somebody recommended this to me, and so I got out of the library and read it. And this is a very weird book. It doesn't have much of a plot. It apparently won some award, but it's about a guy, the narrator, the unnamed narrator, answers an ad and goes to this office, I think, where he finds a talking gorilla. Mental telepathy type of talking. It's not like Planet of the Apes. And essentially, this is a Socratic dialogue about humans and our place in the world. And Ishmael says that there are the hunter gatherers. I forget the term he uses for them, who live in harmony with Earth, and then there's the takers, which are essentially most modern people who are not living in harmony with Earth, and they're talking about how to better live in harmony with the world. So there's not a story. There's not a plot through it. This is more of an intellectual exercise, and I remember thinking it was relatively interesting. Nothing earth-shattering, but Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. If you want a little mental stimulation, maybe check this one out. And then finally, for April 2003, we have Bite Me, an unofficial guide to the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer by Nikki Stafford. Hard to read my own handwriting. This is what it says: an unofficial guide to the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is actually the second edition. First edition came out in 2018 and only covered the first 2 seasons of the show because that's all that existed at the time it was being written. This goes through the first 6 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the first 3 seasons of Angel, and it focuses on crossover episodes when it's talking about Angel. But you've got the breakdowns of every episode, and profiles on the characters, the actors, the show itself, where the show stands culturally. Again, as a super fan of Buffy, at least at the time, this is the kind of thing that I like. And that's it. That is all that I read in April of 2003. And my question for this video, where I once again did not think ahead, the Da Vinci Code. Have you read it? Have you seen the movie? What did you think? Do you think that it's on its own a book that deserves to be on the bestsellers list? Just your general thoughts on the Da Vinci Code. I've pretty much shared mine. I mean, I guess technically it deserves to be on the bestsellers list if it was a bestseller. That's all there is to that. It's not, the bestsellers list isn't some sort of metric on how good something is. It's essentially a metric on how popular something is. And I absolutely believe this book was popular because of the controversy. People either wanted to read it to see what all the hand wringing was about, or again, there's few people. I doubt my friend was the only one. Few people that wanted to read it because it was the hip thing to do, or even just own it. Again, I don't know that he ever read it. It's a fun adventure. I think there are better books in this genre. I would much rather read Brad Meltzer and his legal thrillers, but Brad Meltzer's another one that I think changed what he was doing. He even had a show about conspiracies and secret histories. But he was writing legal thrillers, and then after Da Vinci Code, he started writing these secret society, secret message, secret code types of stories, which may be good. I didn't read them. And James Rollins was writing these crazy adventure stories about hidden civilizations and things, um, where people are going into the jungle and discover a hidden civilization, or going into the ocean and finding a hidden civilization, going underground, that kind of thing. Fun adventures with good characters and stuff. And then he created a government team. Maybe it was a Vatican team. I don't know, but a team. He has a whole series of books that are this team doing Da Vinci Code kind of stuff. So the book was influential. I don't think we'd have National Treasure without it, although it's possible we would have. But I personally see the Da Vinci Code all over National Treasure. It's a fun book. It's not a great book. It's certainly not a masterpiece. It's not even the best in its own genre. But it wasn't a waste of time reading it. Unfortunately, I read it when it first came out. At least bought it when it first came out. I'd have to actually check the publication date, see how close to that I was. Long before they were made into movies, before the controversy. Not saying I'm better than everybody, just saying I didn't jump on the bandwagon. Mainly because I had read Angels and Demons and enjoyed that. If I'd read Digital Fortress first, I don't know that I would have picked up any other Dan Brown. But again, so what do you think? Have you read the book? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Do you think there's anything to the controversy? Have you seen the movie? What did you think of that? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. And on Blue Sky, I am @EL Smith. That's all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.